Hey guys, welcome back to Cat View. So I wanted to do this quick little upload for you guys to talk about Moon Knight, the season finale, episode 6 really, and sort of dive into Jake's character, who was pretty much revealed at the end of the finale, episode 6. So I just wanted to sort of talk about this theory that I have about Jake and his presence, I guess, maybe potentially in the future MCU films. So, quick introduction. I normally review DC stuff. If you guys watch my channel or have seen me before, you guys probably have not really ever seen me review or react to anything Marvel, really. That's just because I haven't seen a lot of Marvel content that I've actually enjoyed in the last decade. However, I have actually been watching the Marvel films on Disney Plus. So I watched WandaVision, which was really good. I watched Hawkeye, which I loved and adored. Not into Loki, so I'm not going to watch that. And now I've just very recently finished Moon Knight. Now I'm not going to lie, this isn't going to be a review of the entire series of Moon Knight because frankly I didn't enjoy the series. A lot of the channels that I watch, obviously I'm a movie buff, so I watch movie channels that do movie news, movie reviews, movie reactions, etc. So there's a lot of general talk about Marvel properties and Marvel shows as of late because since I'm gonna say the last Avengers film, there really wasn't anything except for Spider-Man, and then that was really big. Now Doctor Strange has come out, and it's like every time Marvel releases something, it's just a instant success. And the same is pretty much said for their shows. So I also haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I forgot that was another one. I haven't seen that one either. I'm not really interested in that. But I wanted to discuss Jake, his character in the Moon Knight show. So again, I'm not going to review the entire series, but obviously this is going to contain spoilers, as pretty much all my content does. So, like I said, I didn't hate the show by any means. There were a lot of really awesome parts of the show. Oscar Isaac definitely is a standout, and that's really what made me want to watch it. Just the fact of him playing someone with split personality disorder is really fascinating to me. But again, moving into that aspect of this discussion, pretty much the Jake theory. So obviously, we see that Mark is the main character, and we find out that Mark has actually manifested Stephen as a personality. Whereas for the first, I think, 1 through 5 episodes, 1 through 4 possibly, and then 5 was maybe like the episode where everything was sort of revealed or came together. So we basically find out that Stephen was not, in fact, the original as he thought he was. So Stephen was actually created as a coping mechanism for Mark and to deal with his life. And then we find out throughout the show there are glimpses and hints and basically notes of Jake's presence, which we didn't know that's what his name was until again the finale. So that's when the character was finally revealed. And I say character because even though it's a personality of Mark, Stephen was just as much of a character in the series as Mark was. And then Jake, just for that very brief scene in the finale, is as well. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact of what Jake means moving forward for Moon Knight as a character, wrapped into that persona, really, because it's really Mark, Stephen, and Jake now. So, my theory is that Jake is actually going to be anti-hero. Villain or anti-hero, I should say. Um, they're kind of like they can be misconstrued as being the same thing sometimes for mainstream audiences, I want to say also. So for me, I think he will not be a villain. I think he will be an anti-hero, similar to what Black Adam is basically. And and again, like I watch other movie channels, of course I do, extensively, and they're always talking about Marvel properties, Marvel IP, obviously extensively the shows, and then episodically because it's every week on Disney Plus. It's a continued extended discussion all the time. So I'm kind of exposed to this content whether I watch the shows or not, through the channels that I view. And mostly I just tap out and I don't watch what doesn't interest me. But again, I have seen some of the shows, and this being one of them. So, I wish DC would do this. I wish that maybe there will come a day where there's a great DC show that comes out, and the content creators that I view or watch start having fan theories about that, and extended discussions about those characters. That would be amazing. But unfortunately, there haven't been films like that I've seen creators really discussing extensively to that level of adoration that I felt for those properties, such as Justice League or Man of Steel, etc. So, unfortunately, not yet, but fingers crossed for DC that will happen. But hey, I can't even front on it. Like, Marvel has produced some really good content through their shows, and this isn't like bad by any means for a show. Again, I didn't love it. There were a lot of parts that I didn't really feel like it dragged on. That's basically my problem with the show. But yeah, the last two episodes, episode 5 and episode 6, the finale, seemed to be everyone sort of the commonality of everybody deciding that those two episodes really kick into gear. And then really the only complaint about the finale being that it was rushed. And I agree with that. I feel like it was rushed. It was like we took so long to get somewhere, and there was such build up with anticipation, and then a lot of people felt like we didn't get that payoff, specifically with Jake's character. And again, I want to emphasize that I believe the reason that is because Jake is going to be further introduced, or I want to say introduced, because really to me, this is a backstory of Mark, as the vessel, if you will, for Jake. So this entire show is Moonknight, but it's really based around Mark, which at the start is Stephen. Try and follow along, guys, if you haven't seen it. It's a lot, but you should watch it because this will make this discussion easier. But again, people do watch my videos and they're fine with hearing spoilers, so that's cool if you want to watch this and then still go watch the show for the first time. But again, it's probably going to confuse you keeping up with this discussion if that's the case. Um, but I think that that's what they're going to do. I think Marvel would not go that they wouldn't go that dark on a Disney Plus show, and I think that Jake is in fact evil. I don't think he's Mark or Steven. And hear me out on the theory. I could be wrong. I could be completely off. So my first clue, or my first question really is did Jake kill his mother? Now, this could be really stupid, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have not gone back and watched it because I don't want to sift through the content. Um, but I haven't seen other creators mentioning this possibility. Um, and again, to be fair, I've not sat there and watched 20 different channels reacting to this, doing spoiler discussions about Moon Knight. I liked the show, but I'm not that obsessed with it to go to that degree of digging. Hence this video. So if I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below and tell me that it's ridiculous. But I don't remember actually seeing if we were given a reason as to how his mother passed away. I remember the scene of the Shiva, and like the dad was in the window and you saw Mark outside and he refused to go in, and then we saw the breakdown, the physical emotional breakdown of Mark's character, and then he snapped, couldn't deal with the pain, which is why Stephen exists. So he shut off, and then Stephen came through, and Stephen was oblivious, had no idea, and still thought his mum was alive, which we later find out through Stephen's perspective, because again, Stephen thought he was the OG. So then Stephen later finds out that yes, she is in fact dead. She had passed away at that point. So it goes back and forth through present and past, through memories of Mark. So yeah, Stephen discovers it later on, but Stephen was created because, and this is leading back to the discussion of his mother. Stephen was created as a manifestation, coping mechanism, because Mark's mother would abuse him. She would beat him up, and she would physically and verbally abuse him after he let his brother die as a child, which was an accident, but whatever. His mom became abusive. I believe she became an alcoholic. So there's a combination there. And I just don't remember, and I don't know if they actually gave a reason as to how she died. So, like, the things I'm thinking were like, if maybe she was like dying of a disease, possibly. I still feel like it is possible, very much possible, to have some sort of flashback sequence, or at least not even, you don't need that to be fair, but an acknowledgement later on as Jake, as a villain, anti-hero, whatever, admitting that he in fact killed his mother. Whether that was like suffocating her, making it look like it was a natural causes, I think someone with the vicious experience and caliber of skill that Jake seems to possess could definitely pull that off. I also, so that's the first, like, my first red flag and question. Again, if it was in fact revealed how his mother passed away and it was nothing to do with, there was no possibility, not even a little fraction of a possibility that that could have ever happened, by all means, somebody who's watching this, correct me in the comments. Second thing, if I'm right, and it is the fact that Jake is a villain or so evil that he had to be contained, just like in that sarcophagus that they didn't want to explore but had to put in there for some reason, just to tease the audience and make it pretty obvious that there was a third personality. If we didn't already know that from the fact that there was a very, very efficient killer that would come out when Mark couldn't complete the task, that was even worse and more lethal than a mercenary. I mean, come on, you guys. I think it's pretty obvious that that's what has been set up here. But yeah, the second thing is also Layla's father. Now we know that Mark was in the desert. He was on a mercenary mission, and Layla's father was a part of that group, and then they all were killed. Now, Mark's recollection of the story is that he tried to stop it, but they took control, and then they killed Layla's father. I don't necessarily know if that's what actually happened. Is that just how Mark remembers it? Is it possible that Layla's father at some point, or the group it's an entirety, because we've seen that Mark has been facing a group of people at times, and then he flashes out and he comes back and like 20 people are dead, right? So there was a group, right? And Mark was there on a mission, but he didn't want to kill them. He tried to stop it, he said, not specifically for Layla's father. She was a part of that. He said these things. He just tried to stop the slaughter of all these men. What if that's not what happened? What if they started firing or attacking? And we did see visibly Mark was very injured from that ordeal. He didn't die, but he was pretty much on death row, like he's pretty much been a few times, and then Jake comes in. So what if Mark was fighting them and he was trying to stop everything, and then he got put or under very like distressful situation, and he was at the point of no return, and so the emergency plan kicked in, the emergency backup being Jake, because this is what I'm going to call him. He's basically the emergency. He is when neither Steven nor Mark can pull off the task at hand. So then Jake comes in. So what if that's what happened and Jake came in and he killed everybody? So really, Mark does not know he actually killed Layla's father. I mean, technically, personality-wise, he didn't, but what if that's what happened? So to me, these little things sort of, this is what I think watching this show. That was my interpretation of all these little instances planted in there, and then later on brought to fruition with the season finale through Mark's memories being revealed and explored and etc. etc. So to me, going back into this, I have this theory and I have these questions, and that's where my direction that I've gone into, which is that Jake was actually responsible. What if, like we see Mark leaving, I believe, when he was a teenager, I want to say, and he's like, I'm had enough, like, this is your job to fix this, and his dad's like, please stay, whatever. Like, I don't know, like, did he go back at some point, and then his mother just put him in a situation, because we know she abused him for a long, long, long time. And what if she put him in a situation where it just got pushed too far at some point, just like all the other situations that Mark was in, and Jake had to come and he had to do what he had to do. Like, he had to kill his mother, just like he had to kill Layla's father, just like he killed Harrow, like at the end of the finale. There was all these things that that sort of lead me to that conclusion. And again, it's just a speculation and theory. Like, for all I know, his mother actually died of natural causes, and Layla's dad actually got killed by the other people, and Mark was just actually injured trying to stop that from his own people. Like, I don't know. This is what has been said narratively, but I don't know if I necessarily believe the dialogue with all the other sort of inserts that have been put in here and the vague display of Jake until that finale. And also, like, again, the fact that he snaps in and he is worse than Mark. If, and again, the fact that Mark is, this lethal mercenary with all this skill set, and he's a killer. But he also can't get it done. And when the chips fall and he is backed into a corner, and even Mark cannot get him and Steven out of trouble because Steven's definitely not going to be doing it. Jake has to be put into play, and I think that that's something that will be explored. I really do. I think like there is. I Marvel like I don't love Marvel films. I will say the shows seem much more intelligent to me than the films do. Um, I'm not saying that the shows are perfect. Of course they're not. Like I said, I had problems with this one, but I feel like Marvel is very, very, very good, and also Kevin Feige as a whole in putting things into play that later will come into um, sight a bit better for people, for the audiences. And that is that, Jake was put into this, or Jake was revealed finally after all this build up, the sarcophagus tease, the multiple blackouts with then not no explanation or acknowledgement of a third personality through the entire show, even to the point of revealing with the scales and stuff. I've seen a lot of questioning about that. If Jake is really there, then how could the scales balance, etc., etc., etc. All kinds of stuff. Why were there only two hearts? Why I think it's the fact that because Jake is such an evil presence, I also believe that the way that Steven felt that he was original and he did not know that Mark existed until he did, I believe that's the case. I believe neither Steven nor Mark know about Jake, and Jake believes that he is the only person. I don't think he knows that there's other situations. How that would actually make any sense to him, like if I try and imagine what his life must be like, where he's just in these situations, it sounds complicated, but to be fair, the way I see Jake potentially being written as a character is that he is pretty much just pure evil. He is like this animal, it's just survival instinct, which would make sense as to why every time he's actually present, he's in danger. He has to kill to survive. So, what that would look like separate from Mark, I don't know, as a 24/7 kind of thing. The way we see much more of Mark, we see a lot of Steven's life, we later see more of Mark's life, or at least we hear about what it was like. I don't think we'll get that with Jake. I don't think we need to get that with Jake. That's the point. I think that Moon Knight as a character has to be he's like Khonshu. He's not bad, but he's not good, or he does questionable things. Just like Mark. Mark did very bad things, but he had redemption in him. He felt bad that Layla's father was killed, And then Steven was like a good guy, but he also had a tendency to fight when he had to survive. He didn't always do the right thing. He was a nice person, but he did not always do the right thing when it came time to make a decision that you had to make that was difficult. He was always trying to be better. He stopped Mark a few times when Mark would go too far. But then what happens when Mark needs something more? Who's worse than that? And then you've got Jake, who really does go too far. So I believe for the MCU films, just like they did with WandaVision, like the reason Wanda is so much of part of a Doctor Strange film is because WandaVision propelled that, and that's what these TV shows are designed to do. Kevin Feige has his master plan where all these TV shows are designed to propel or introduce, then propel characters into the larger MCU, whether that is to form a new group or just to have them pop in for cameos or whatever role or part that they are playing, to whatever significance that role is, it is definitely to do that. I'm not saying that every single character that's introduced into a show is going to then be in a film. I am saying that the main reasons for the shows, those characters are going to be in films. Hawkgirl is going to be in a film. Wanda was put into a film. Um, Yelena, who I believe is going to be part of another sort of event. I don't know, but I think she will be put into a film. She's too good of a character not to be. And now Jake will be seen again as Moon Knight put into a film. And I think he's going to be an anti hero. I think we're going to see the elimination possibly of Steven, or at least Steven, I think, is going to be very short lived. I think there's going to be a snap because to have the realization of a character like Jake, if Jake is in fact this pure evil that I think they're going to make him, Steven can't exist. Mark can still exist because Mark has good and bad in him. More, he's capable of making the tough decisions. Steven is the weakest link of the three of them. I believe that Steven will be absorbed, sorry, and Mark and only Mark and Jake will then battle it out through film, however that exists. I think that could be amazing. Imagine a film where, and imagine the hype, because again, these TV shows are designed to inject characters into larger films for box office to make sales. That's what these are for. Yes, creatively they could explore a bit more, tell a better story than the films, and that's why I believe a lot of the storytelling in the shows is better than the films. I think that's why I like them, and I'm more receptive to the shows than I have been to the films, um, because they can just really breathe more and they can expand it more. Sometimes too long, but there's just more development of the character. With Jake, we literally end the series as a post-credit scene introducing Jake, and it's very brief. So to me, this whole series was the backstory of Mark, because it really was. It's Mark discovering why Steven was there, etc., etc. If you accept the few episodes where Steven didn't realize Mark existed, but because it's only 6 episodes, it's all really like it goes and goes and goes. So I think that was all a backdrop for Mark, and now we get to have Jake pushed into the MCU films, and I think he's going to be very, very bad. Um, Now, what that is going to look like, where Moon Knight is actually anti-hero who's actually doing damage, not just to people who are evil, but of course Jake, it's survival, so who knows? Maybe he thinks he's doing the right thing. Maybe he is pure evil. I'm not 100% on that part of it yet because that is up to creatives that are much, much smarter than my little tiny mind, but um, that could really be explored whichever way you want to do it. I personally think that the whole idea that he is just this primal evil that then Mark has to sort of somehow find a way to expel without destroying himself, because Moon Knight is then needed to save humanity somehow. Um, I think that could be a really cool angle, but that's just me. So I've talked too much about a Marvel show nonetheless. But anyway, that's pretty much my theory. I'm sure I've left stuff out because I ramble, but let me know if that's even something that you think could be possible. Now, Oscar Isaac has said there's no season 2 of the show, because of course there isn't. There is not going to be a season 2 of any of these shows. Again, they're put there to bring forth characters that will then be pushed into the films and or to explore the character of the main film. Like, and it's really fascinating to me because WandaVision had so many other characters, and look, Agatha Harkness is getting a show, Echo is getting a show, but these characters aren't then going into the films. But the main character of the show, Wanda, is in the film. Just like Haley, I guess you could argue Haley Steinfeld isn't the main character, Hawkeye was, but to be fair, I believe they really shared the lead. I really do. Um, Kind of like Wanda and Vision. But again, I don't think that I don't think we'll never see Vision in a film again. I mean, of course we will. Um, just like I think we will see Moon Knight again, played as Mark slash Jake, but mostly focusing on the Jake element because they have to do that, and they put that in there. That's the last thing they put in there, and there's a reason for that. So let me know what you guys think if you've gotten this far through this. Um, is it possible that Jake is in fact evil? That all this time, all along, that's why they ignored it, because he's too evil to really explore. At least in a Disney Plus show, it was not going to be explored. but it was teased. And I do believe that's going to be because we're going to see him as an anti-hero. So, DC is doing Black Adam, like Marvel's going to get there. So this could be one major character. So I think look out for it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.